Hey gang. today today we're gonna read good, good book. We're gonna read uh, Matthew 18, and I am reading out of a King James version, bilingual. And in my Bible is titled "Who is Greatest?" Meaning, who is greatest in the kingdom of heaven. So Matthew 18, uh, verse 1. At the time the disciples came to Jesus, saying, "Who then is greatest in the kingdom of heaven?" Then Jesus called a little child to him, set him in the midst of them, and said, "Assuredly, I say to you, unless you are converted and become as little children, you will by no means enter the kingdom of heaven. Therefore, whoever humbles himself as this little child is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven. Whoever receives one little child like this in my name receives me." Verse 6 titles Jesus warns of offenses. "But whoever causes one of these little ones who believe in me to sin, it would be better for him if a millstone were hung around his neck and he were drowned in the depth of the sea. Woe to the world because of offenses. Woe to the world because of offenses, for offenses must come, but woe to that man by whom the offense comes from." Okay, this is again kingdom message. Everything here is about the kingdom of the Father, kingdom of heaven. Okay, that's all I'm talking about. That's all the Spirit of the Father is talking about. "But whoever causes one of these little ones," who are the little ones? "Surely I say to you, unless you are converted and become as little children." So who are the little children? The converted ones. Those that come to the Father, those that have accepted the sacrifice. We're going to touch on what it means to accept the sacrifice of Jesus, of Joshua, of the Christ. We're gonna talk about that afterwards. But whoever causes one of these little ones who who believe in me to sin. So what is sin? Sin is transgression of the law, right? The law of what? Whose law? The law of the Creator. Okay. So we see that when we have accepted the sacrifice of the Messiah, we have started the transformation into becoming as a little child, as a child. Okay, because only the pure in heart can inherit the kingdom of the Father, and we don't have the ability. We don't have the ability of doing that on our own because we're flawed. We're flawed uh, in our initial state in coming into this world. So we need the Redeemer. Okay. So first, we got to understand what the acceptance of his sacrifice represents and what it means. What does it mean to accept the sacrifice of Jesus Christ? What does it mean to accept the sacrifice of the Messiah? What was the sacrifice? This is the reason why Jesus came to fulfill the law. and not to abolish it. He came to fulfill it. What does that mean? What does it mean that he came to fulfill the law and not to abolish it? Okay. In the old days, before Christ appeared, in the old days, there was the father's people would take burnt offerings, physical offerings. They would commit their sins, they would make their mistakes, they would break the father's laws, and then they would fix it all, just wipe it all clean by taking a lamb, or or whatever animal it was, or whatever offering it may be, and they would sacrifice that offering. Basically, like, you take a piece of something that was valuable to you, and you would basically lay it to the fire in the name of the Father to atone for your sins. Okay, now here's the difference between when Jesus stepped into the scene and in those days, before Jesus. The difference is that that man that man had probably very little change happen in his heart. That man said in his heart, "Hey, I can go and sin again, and just come and do this burnt offering and be all right." And the Messiah and the Father, the Creator, would receive it and wipe the slate clean. And there was less accountability in your heart. Uh, that's why I can imagine in those days being very difficult to be a real one, because everybody, I mean, it's just like it is today. Everybody has a way around, you know, uh, manipulating the word to their advantage. So, so when Jesus comes, what does he say? If you have read the gospel, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, the New Testament, whatever you want to call it, Jesus says that it is necessary for him to leave after he resurrects. He says it's necessary for him to leave so that the helper can come. The helper is the Holy Spirit. It's the spirit, the very essence of the Creator, to indwell, to dwell in us. And why do we need the helper? Because we first need to comprehend what it is to accept the sacrifice. Accepting Jesus' sacrifice is exactly that. What did Jesus sacrifice? You guys are not going to want to hear me today. What did Jesus sacrifice? Jesus sacrificed his life on this earth. Jesus could have been a super successful carpenter. Okay, Jesus could have said, "You know what? I'm gonna take the devil up on his offer, covertly, and bow down to him behind the curtains, and become the best carpenter that the Galilee has ever seen, or whatever, and recruited all his disciples, and he could have been a false prophet, and he could have, like, because he would have been very, very astute, because he's the freaking Son of God, right? And it's just all hypothetically. Obviously, this could not happen, but any man that's to say, "I have accepted the sacrifice of Jesus," has to understand, comprehend in their heart that Jesus sacrificed his very life in entirety on this earth for the sake of showing us what the kingdom of heaven is about. And why would you do that? Because understood, Jesus comprehended that the kingdom of heaven is greater than the kingdoms of earth, that we're just passing through, that at some point, from the dust we are raised, and to the dust we return. Jesus understood this. He knew. He was a son of the Creator. So when we say we accept the sacrifice of Jesus Christ, we have to understand what that means. That doesn't mean that we get to have, doesn't mean that we get to seek the riches of this world covertly under the cloak that we're doing it, under the lie that we tell ourselves and others that we're doing it for the kingdom of the Father. No, that's not what that means. We have the helper. If we have truly comprehended and accepted the sacrifice of the Messiah, what that means in our hearts is that we have now the spirit of the living creator inside of us, guiding us and correcting us every second of the day. Now you have no excuse. You have complete accountability, the accountability to your creator directly, because his spirit lives in you. So when you deny the voice of the spirit speaking inside of you, after you have accepted and you comprehended what it means to accept the sacrifice of the Messiah in order to achieve salvation, in order to receive salvation, which is the only way. When you reject the voice of the Spirit within you, you're rejecting Christ. And you're no longer serving the kingdom of the Father. Y'all ain't gonna want to hear me today. Who are the children? We are the children. We are the little ones. When we accept the Messiah's sacrifice, we are the little ones. We're the ones that this parable is talking about. I'm going to keep reading. I'm going to go right back to verse 6. But whoever causes one of these little ones who believe in me to sin, again, to sin is to lead those children, those newborn converted children that have accepted the sacrifice, leading those little ones to sin, meaning astray, leading them astray from the law of the Creator. And the law lives in you now because the spirit of the living Creator lives in you. So now the law lives in you. And you knowing that, you manipulate the word to mislead those with pure hearts that think that they're coming to you as the servant of the Most High, and you're misleading them. Okay? That is to believe in me to sin. Okay. Little ones who believe in me to sin. It would be better for him if a millstone were hung around his neck and he were drowned in the depths of the sea. This is not talking about one specific subject of our humanity. This is talking about our salvation in entirety. All sin. There is no greater sin. All sin is sin. And I know that we have emotions and we have feelings, and I have them too. And there's some folks that would deem the violation of the sexual immorality in violation to a child to be the most terrible thing on this planet. And my humanity agrees with that. My carnality agrees with every single one who believes that doing something gross, sexually, anything sexual to a child is gross in every aspect of every way. I believe that. But in spirit, I also believe, and I know, I understand, because I have came to the comprehension, and the Father has showed me that there is no greater sin. So if you're a liar, you'd be counted just as bad as that pedophile. There is no greater sin. The truth is the truth. Woe to the world because of offenses, for offenses must come. But woe to that man who by whom the offense comes. And offenses, I'm assuming here that we're talking about that man that offends the Creator and His creation by misleading the little ones. If your hand or foot causes you to sin, cut it off and cast it from you. It is better for you to enter into life lame or maimed rather than having two hands or 2 feet to be cast into the everlasting fire. This shows you like just let's think about literally what this says right here, just in the literal sense. It is better for you to end. Okay, if your hand or your foot causes you to sin, any part of your body causes you to transgress the Father's law, it is better that you would chop that part of your body off than for your whole body to be thrown into the furnace, into the lake of fire, where Satan and his angels are going to, the fallen ones are going to. Okay, it's necessary for us to understand this in a literal sense because it shows us how serious it is for us to chop off. This is, remember, Jesus spoke in parables. What this means, don't go chopping off your hands and other members. I know. Don't go doing that. Listen to what Jesus is saying. The parable is explaining this for a reason. Is making it that severe. Every part of your heart, every member in your heart, every part of your heart that causes you to sin, that causes you to transgress the law of the Creator, you need to cut it off. Everything that Jesus was talking about was to lead you to the kingdom of heaven. Everything. The rich young ruler situation, that's us. That's our carnality. That's our carnal state before accepting the sacrifice of the Messiah. That's who we are. We are the rich young ruler. Rich of what? Rich of this world. Rich the indoctrination. Rich of the indoctrination of the things that we need to seek in this world rather than the things that we need to seek to enter the kingdom of heaven. I, I, I'm asking I know the Father's showing me this to show it to you. I I already prayed and asked the Spirit of the Father to show you what I'm saying, what He's saying. And if your eye causes you to sin, pluck it out. What are you looking at? What are you looking at? And I'm gonna go beyond. I'm gonna go beyond this Instagram models and all this Brazilian butt lift. Oh, Father, help me. Uh, I'm going beyond that. Yes, stop doing that. Cut it off. If Instagram's a problem, cut it off or whatever. But what, on a deeper level, what else are you looking at? Are you lusting off of the success? Are your eyes looking at these money gurus, these philanthropists on this earth that have attained a position of power in the kingdom of the devil? Are you lusting after what these men have? that don't glorify the Creator in any way, shape, or form because they clearly love money more than they love God. What are you looking at? It is better for you to enter into life with one eye rather than having two eyes to be cast into hellfire. Again, just showing you how serious it is for you to cut off. He came to fulfill the law. The law must still be fulfilled in your heart because he judges our heart. He judges us by our hearts. The action happens in the heart. Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. Okay. Take heed. Okay. Verse 10, chapter 18, verse 10. And it titles The Parable of the Lost Sheep. Take heed that you do not despise one of these little ones, for I say to you that in heaven their angels always see the face of my Father who is in heaven. For the Son of Man has come to save that which was lost. What was lost? What was lost was our inheritance to the kingdom. It was our right for the creation of the Creator to be with the Creator. We lost that. That's what we lost. Then He comes back to restore what was lost, which is our ability to be next to the Creator, our ability to be next to the Father. What do you think if a man has 100 sheep and one of them goes astray? Does he not leave the 99 and go to the mountains to seek the one that is straying? Guys, forgive me. I have difficulty reading past a certain point, so I'm going to start slowing down a little bit. It's so I'm going to read that again. Verse 12. What do you think if a man has 100 sheep and one of them goes astray? Does he not leave the 99 and go to the mountains to seek the one that is straying? This is basically him showing you how much he loves us. We are that important. One is that important. We are all individually extremely important to the Creator, to the Messiah. And if he should find it, assuredly I say to you, he rejoices more over that sheep than over the 99 that did not go astray. Have you ever experienced that? Have you ever I know we have experienced this in some small way in our lives where I don't want to say someone, God forbid you lose a person that means a lot to you in any way, shape, or form. But you're looking for something. There's something that was vital to your everyday, to making your life easier every day. Something that was on autopilot, and you lose that one thing, and you're like, oh man, like I can do without this, that, and the other, but this one thing, and then you find it, and you're like, I don't know if that relates, but the Jesus is talking about souls here. Jesus is talking about souls. How he rejoices every time that a soul is saved, basically. Even so, it is not the will of your Father who is in heaven that one of these little ones should perish. Now I'm gonna read that again, verse 13. And if he should find it, assuredly I say to you, he rejoices more over that sheep than over the 99 that did not go astray. Even so, it is not the will of your Father who is in heaven that one of these little ones should perish. He, God doesn't want, Yah does not want anyone to go to hell. Dealing with the sinner, the sinning brother, dealing with the sinning brother. Verse 15 in chapter 18. Moreover, if your brother sins against you, go and tell him his fault between you and him alone. If he hears you, you have gained your brother. But if he will not hear, take with you one or two more, then by the mouth of two or three witnesses, every word may be established. And if he refuses to hear them, tell it to the church. But if he refuses even to hear the church, let him be to you like a heathen and a tax collector. A tax collector. Tax collector. Mm. It's funny, he had a tax collector in the midst of his disciples. He chose him. He chose the tax collector. And he just compared a tax collector with heathens. Okay, just goes to show you. Just goes to show you Jesus' interpretation, Jesus' perception of a man that collects the worldly monetary currency from other men, and the tax collectors. Okay, so taxation is extortion, basically. We are forced by a government. We are forced by a government, a governmentus, a system in place that everybody apparently doesn't have a problem with, even though we are all enslaved by it. And I say no one has a problem with it because nobody gets together in one accord and sends up and said, that's it, we're not dealing with this anymore. Because we have the power to do that in our numbers. But nobody comes together because the indoctrination is too strong. Divided we fall. So here listen to Jesus's perception, interpretation of a tax collector. He labels them a heathen because the tax collector is collecting on earth what is not righteously his, or that belongs to whoever he's collecting it for. It's an extortion. That means that others are working while someone that has a power of violence is collecting off of that person's work. Okay, so that's. I hope you grasp what's going on here. Again, I say to you that if two of you agree on earth concerning anything that they ask, it will be done for them by my Father in heaven. Remember, everything you ask in the same book of Matthew, everything you ask the Father, he will grant you, as long as is anything you ask the Father through the sacrifice of the Messiah, according to his riches in glory. Anything that will glorify the Messiah and get you closer to your Creator, he will grant you. Those are the riches of the Spirit, the riches of heaven. Okay? He's not going to give you a Lamborghini or for the sake of giving you a Lamborghini. It's just an example. Okay? It's not to say that Lamborghinis are evil. They're Lamborghini is a piece of artistry and in technology of transportation, whatever you want to call it. It's It's not the object. It's the power that our hearts gives an object that becomes idolatry. He's not going to give you something for you to idolize. If you idolize it, he won't give it to you. And if you do acquire objects of idolatry in any sense, it is not God the one giving it to you. And it's not Yah the one that you're serving. It is the devil, because that's what the devil does. Tells you, if you bow down to me, there's many ways of bowing down to the devil. The simplest one is you refusing the voice of the Spirit inside of you, correcting you, telling you, no, give that up, because that's not of my kingdom. Oh no, but but Father, and then you go and you try to manipulate the word to your advantage, and you utilize the verses that speak to you to justify your life, your lifestyle, and what you in your life choices. No, the word is the word. The word is the law, right? Let's keep going. All right. Verse 20 of chapter 18. For uh, for where two or three are gathered together in my name, I am there in the midst of them. Then Peter came to him and said, Lord, how often shall my brother sin against me? Let's go. Peter came to him and said, Lord, how often shall my brother sin against me and I forgive him up to 7 times? Jesus said to him, I do not say to you up to 7 times, but up to 70 times 7. And you savvy Hebrew guys can go back and see what that means in a deeper, in a more, not deeper, but in a more literal sense when it comes to the Hebrew language or whatever. I know that the Hebrew letters had numerical value and all that. I'm giving it to you off the cuff as the Spirit gives it to me. So if I'm just to read this 70 times 7, well, that's a lot of times. Like if somebody messes with me twice, I'm already questioning their integrity. You know what I mean? So it's like, but I still have to forgive them. Now, forgiveness doesn't mean I have to forgive you and keep putting up with your bull crap. I don't have to keep putting up with your bull crap and your disobedience with the Creator. I'm gonna forgive you, but I'm not gonna condone. I'm not gonna support you. The moment that I see, the moment that the Spirit of the Father shows me that you are seeking after the things of this world and you are denying the voice of the Spirit within you to follow the kingdom of the Father, I can't support you. I am not allowed to, because then we both fall in sin. So I'd rather be out here outside of the hole that you have dug yourself in, and if anything, extend the rope. If the Spirit of the Father tells me to, extend the rope to help you up. But we can't both be in that same hole. All right. The parable of the unforgiving servant. Oh, I love this one. I love this one. Okay, this starts in verse 23. Again, chapter 18 of Matthew, verse 23. Therefore, the kingdom of heaven is like a certain. I love Jesus. I don't know what to tell you. Therefore, the kingdom of heaven is like a certain king, master, whatever you want to call it. I like all the versions says master. Okay, who wanted to settle accounts with his servants, and when he had begun to settle accounts, one was brought to him who owed him 10,000 talents. Okay, again, I don't know how much in dollars 10,000 talents is at any amount. A debt is a debt. Okay, So here. Read that again. Therefore, the kingdom of heaven is like a certain king slash master who wanted to settle accounts with his servants, plural. And and when he had begun to settle accounts, one was brought to him who owed him 10,000 talents. But as he was not able to pay, his master, oh, there we go, as he was not able to pay, his master commanded that he be sold. Okay, with his wife and children and all that he had, and that payment be made. So basically, back in those days, and dude, it's the same in spirit today. It's the same thing. We have been sold into slavery. Oh, dude, we have been sold into slavery. We are modern day slaves. You have a serial number in your birth certificate, your social security. You are property of the United States corporation. You are a slave. Okay, in a physical sense. You may not be a slave in the spirit. We're free. We're free in our hearts when we accept the sacrifice of the Messiah. But to the eyes of the devil, the ruler of this world, we are slaves. Mm. So let's go back here. So who's the debtor? Who's the debtor? We're the debtor. The Adamic nature is the debtor. The sinner is the debtor because we took away we took away from ourselves our ability. We accepted the lie of the enemy, and we took away our ability to stay next to the Creator, and we sinned. That means that we have broken the law. Breaking the law is going in debt. We are the debtor. We are the debtor, the sinner, the the fallen from grace. The Adamic nature is the debtor. Okay, I'm gonna go right back to 25. But as he was not able to pay, his master commanded that he is sold with his wife and children and all that he had, and that payment be made. So basically, all right, give him away so that the payment can be made. So basically, everything you own, everything you are, everything that you hold dear to you, sacrificed for the sake of your debt. What that sounds like hell to me. It sounds like you forfeit living, you forfeit your life. That sounds to me like you obeying the laws, which is staying out of debt of the Creator in spirit and truth, sends you straight to hell. You forfeit everything you own, everything underneath you, your wife and your children. Okay. Y'all ain't taking this serious. The servant therefore fell down before him, saying, Master, have patience with me, and I will pay you all. Then the master of that servant was moved with compassion, released him, and forgave him the debt. Who was moved with compassion? Who was moved with compassion? The Father. The Father was moved with compassion, sent his Son. The Son to forgive our debt. You're not comprehending. You're not comprehending. You're not comprehending what it means to accept the Messiah's sacrifice. But we're going to get you there. We're going to get you there. A master of that servant was moved with compassion, released him, and forgave him the debt. But that servant went out and found one of his fellow servants, that servant that was forgiven. Here we go, baby. Here we go. Kingdom message. That servant that was forgiven by his master had servants. And once he was forgiven, then he goes out. Okay. But that servant went out and found one of his fellow servants uh, who owed him, okay, fellow servant who owed him 100 denarii, which I'm assuming is less than 10,000 talents or whatever. And uh, again, the amount really to me doesn't matter. A debt is a debt. And he laid hands on him. Laid hands on him. That means that he probably roughed him up a bit, you know, and took him by the throat. Okay, yeah, saying, "Pay me what you owe." So his fellow servant fell down at his feet and begged him, saying the same thing he did to his master. Begged him, saying, "Have patience with me, and I will pay you all." And he would not, but went and threw him into prison till he should pay the debt. So when his fellow servants saw what had been done, they were very grieved. When his fellow servants saw what had been done, they were very grieved, and came. The injustice. The injustice does not sit well in the hearts of those that are living righteously, and came and told their master all that had been done. They told on dude. It's okay to tell on dude when dude's being unrighteous before the eyes of the Father. I'm not talking about hating anybody, but this is what his fellow servants did. Then his master, after he had called him, said to him, "You wicked servant, you mother, I forgave you all that debt because you begged me." This is what I mean by forfeiting your salvation. You could very well get to the point where you accept Christ, and you know, God, this is wise. Better to have not known me than to know me and forsake me. Remember, there's only two sins that are not forgiven: sexual immorality, which there's more in depth to sexual immorality, and the blaspheming of the Holy Spirit. When you deny the Holy Spirit in entirety, and you make that conscious decision in your heart, remember the Father sees your heart, and you choose the power of the enemy over the power of Yah, you have forfeit your salvation. You will be in that lake of fire. And the sexual immorality, I see it again. Test everything anybody says to you about the word. Take it in prayer to your Creator, as has been revealed to me. Sexual immorality is beyond a bad sexual act. Is tainting the essence of the initial creation. Who did sexual immorality? Who blasphemed the Holy Spirit? Hasatan, Satan, Lucifer. Lucifer forfeit his salvation. Lucifer will never be next to the Creator. He will never be in the same room with the Creator, in his presence. Lucifer forfeited. That right. Okay. All right. Let's keep going. I can. You understand. All right. The parable of the unforgiving servant So that's that whole section there from verse 23, Matthew 18, verse 23 through 35. And I'm by 33, I think. Should you not also have had compassion on your fellow servant, just as I had pity on you? And his master was angry and delivered him to the torturers until he should pay all that was due to him. So my heavenly Father also will do to you if each of you from his heart does not forgive his brother his trespasses. I'm going to pause right there. And I'm going to speak personally of myself, because I know certain folks watch these videos. I'm going to speak of myself. I'm not going to drop any names. I'm not trying to embarrass anybody. But if the shoe fits, there have been people that have transgressed, because the Spirit of the Father shows me people's hearts. I know when your heart is crooked. I know when you're hiding. I know when you're manipulating the word, because I can see your heart. I may not, and especially when my flesh gets angry, I may not have the ease of words, but my spirit shows me. It shows me. The Spirit of the Father shows me through the hearts of men. And I know when you're full of crap. And I know when you know what you're doing is wrong, and when you don't know. Most of the time. Not all the time, most of the time. So there may be folks out there that have wronged me, that think that, again, to manipulate the word, oh, you got to forgive me. Even though they never ask for forgiveness. But everyone else that bites from the lie, eats from the lie, accuse you of not being the bigger person. Wait a minute. And accepting, basically what they're saying is that I should accept the sin of that so-called brother. I should accept the sin of that so-called brother that does not want to, at this point, you don't want to admit any wrongdoing. And you are brought to witnesses that can all see you're full of crap in the same room. You still want to apologize and admit, because you are full of your rich young ruler. You are full of your pride and your ego. Am I angry? What was I angry? Yeah, I was. I was very upset. My flesh was telling me to do things that I know my spirit is telling me not to do. And I've grown. So the Father knew I could handle that, and I did. Like I've handled many things in my life. Do I forgive? Of course. Of course I forgive. I do forgive wholeheartedly. I do. I don't desire any harm to go to anybody that has transgressed or lied about me. I don't desire any harm. I don't desire anything that I wouldn't desire for myself. I don't want to burn in hell for eternity. I don't want to be separated. To me, just being separated from the Creator would be hell. I've experienced that before in my life too. Like the Father, I have felt in my flesh what Jesus said when he was on the cross. Father, why have you forsaken me? I have felt that. And I don't know who can relate. But when I say I have paid in flesh to get to this point in my life, and the things that I have been through, and the transgressions that have been done against me, I have paid in flesh to get to this point. I have felt and comprehended what it meant When Jesus said to his Father in heaven, Father, why have you forsaken me? I have felt that. I have been in that hole. I have been on that cross, so to speak, in spirit. So, does that mean I have to accept the sin and stay in the hole? And just accept, oh, yeah, no, I can't. I'm not allowed to. If I were to accept that, to begin with, if all we're going by is logic, in order for you to forgive somebody has to ask for forgiveness. That never happened, right? So, but in my heart, between you and your creator, it's you and your creator. That's the only thing you're in control of. You're not in control of what other people do. You're in control of your reaction to what they do. And my reaction was to forgive and understand that Buddy is just a man like me. His sin is no greater than mine, even though it may seem, So, yeah, I think that's where this video ends. Anyway, I love reading. I love listening to my Messiah speak because I can hear his voice. There's nothing better than to be able to hear your master's voice. I'm telling you right now, the masters of this world do not compare to the master of the kingdom of heaven. And I'm here as an instrument of the Father to try to get you to realize the differences and try to teach you how to build in the kingdom of heaven in your heart primarily, rather than building the kingdoms of men. To the perception of the naked eye, they might both look the same, but they're not. It's your heart intent. Where is your heart at? That governs everything. If your intent in your heart is, oh, I got to make this profit, no, it's going to look good, It's going to look good because, I'm doing it for the children. It's going to look good. Yeah. And we're still living good because the word says, no, you're building your own kingdom there, my friend, under the cloak that you're doing it for the kingdom of the Father. No, the kingdom of heaven is, I'm doing it for my fellow man because I care about my fellow man salvation, like I care about my own. If I don't want to see myself in hell, I don't want them to be in hell. Forget everything else. What's the generational wealth I'm leaving to my children? It's this knowledge, the knowledge of the Spirit of the Most High. That's what I'm leaving my children. That's a generational wealth. Because everything that comes from the dust returns to the dust. How silly you are in storing your riches in heaven. On earth. You are silly for storing your riches on earth. You're not taking any of this with you, dummy. All right. Bless you guys. Catch you on the next one.